Wednesday. It's February 7th. It's our second day in the new regime of being the Outlier Health podcast. Got yesterday's episode up right on time. Well, I mean, it took about 3 hours after the show to fool around a little bit. Then put the episode up. But I didn't forget. Got it up the same day. That's a win. Hope people have enjoyed that. Reminder, if you're still on the Plant-Based Morning Show podcast feed, if that's where you're listening, you're gonna be out of luck soon. Next week, you'll have no shows if you don't get over to the Outlier Health podcast. So get over there, sign up for that one. Yeah, that's all I got. Doug, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. And I just want to say, I think it'd be mighty boring to be listening to the old Plant-Based Morning Show episodes over and over again on that feed. So you definitely should go over to the Outlier Health feed.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Yeah, these are not. You're not doing timeless content here. This is content that expires within 3 or 4 days after we do it.
Maybe within like 20 minutes, if we're being honest. But no, this is good. Very exciting. Yeah, I'm doing well. Not a lot happened last night, to be honest. I played a little chess with a friend and had a beer. Tuesday beer.
Okay, good. Sounds pretty boring, but that's good. Like that. Like a nice little boring day. Doug, I saw Tony P in DC has taken down his Christmas tree. That's when I called it out yesterday, he still had it. He decides to take it down. So that's going on.
Did he do a whole thing on taking it down in February?
Yeah, he did a whole thing. And one of the comments was like, thank you, because this mundane task of taking down a tree was just needed to have a 1 minute long reel made about it. So, I'm just love those comments more and more. Actually, yesterday you texted me some screenshots of the comments.
I know. After the show, I got intrigued.
We're part of the community.
Looking at all the comments, and man, I mean, it's great.
What's the community called? Isn't there some kind of name?
Beehive.
Oh yeah, the Beehive. Yeah. All right. I saw that, and then I popped in the Discord this morning. When I forgot that Sid was coming on, I was looking for some show planning ideas. So I popped in there, saw that Just Egg is back in a couple stores. Did you see that with a rebranded carton?
We covered that. We talked about that.
Did we? I must have been not paying attention. When was that? Yesterday?
No, it's last week sometime. Yeah, they got rid of the plastic jugs, and now it's a carton, which is nice. It's good.
Okay, good. I don't know how I missed that. Totally. I guess I just zone out when we talk about Just Egg because I don't need it.
I think Mr. Jeffrey brought it up, and then we had a little discussion.
Okay. Good. All right. Good. Well, we haven't yet said, other than when I just mentioned it, that Sid Garza-Hillman, our friend, longtime friend, really, one of the best friends we've had in the space, the longest term, just good, all around good guy. He's going to be joining us for a few minutes, actually in just a few minutes, as soon as we finish up with this little banter section. And we'll talk about his new book, which is pretty exciting. We don't usually have guests on the show. Don't even want to, but Sid is a great person to make an exception for. We want him because he's
the person to make an exception.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah. Anyway, good morning to Britters, Carmen, Stephen Dunn, who sent a nice article about the Amsterdam University people unionizing, you might say, to say plant-based food in universities. That should be what's happening. But I don't have that in the weather report today. Mr. Jeffrey here. Larry Libby. I don't know the name Larry Libby, but welcome to the show. Welcome to the live Larry Libby for the first time. And there's a bunch of people, but not that many more people. Kind of a small crowd there.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Doug, before we bring on Sid to talk about ultra running for normal people, which the title of the book that he has put out yesterday is Ultra Running is for Normal People. Very similar to the title of the show.
There you go. No, I don't think so. I think I'm good to go.
All right. I'm pressing the button to bring in Sid.
Let's make it happen. Hey, Sid.
Just how's like that.
Nice to see you. Nice to see. Is the title of the show Ultra Running is for normal? That was the original title of my book, by the way.
Oh, I thought that I'm looking at that, and it says Ultra Running is for normal people.
Yeah, and it got changed. The publisher suggested just to make it Ultra Running for Normal People, and I was like, and then it kind of grew on me, and I was like, okay, so I went for it. So the actual title of the book is Ultra Running for Normal People.
Okay.
Lessons. Yeah. Anyways,
so yes, I put that in the title of the YouTube show. Ultra Running
cool.
for normal.
But thank you so much for having me on, you guys. It's been a few. It's been years, maybe.
Yeah. I'm glad to see you haven't grown back any hair or anything like that.
No, I have. I have.
Oh, you have. Okay.
Yeah, and then the stress of the book, it went away
Oh,
again. I was like, no, oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
Anyway, good. All right, so the book's called Ultra Running for Normal People, and I mean, people who know you know, I think, of your work because we talked about it a lot in the No Meat Athlete years for sure. Particularly, what's the name of the first book? The one that I love so much.
Approaching the Natural.
Yes, Approaching the Natural. Little handbook for being healthy that I love. Gave out many copies to No Meat Athlete readers. Doug's got it right there. A health manifesto, forward by Biz Stone, I believe, co-founder of Twitter.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a really good book. It just has good ideas. It's not about optimizing, which I do not like optimizing. It's just about kind of being normal and doing a good job eating. And great book. So this ultra running book you have is very much the same tone applied to running, in my opinion. I read through the 10 or whatever steps or tips there are in there. And it's I mean, that they were perfect. It sounds like me running with, like how you said when you lined up for your first 50 miler, you were like, what am I doing here? Like, this is the last place I want to be at 3 a.m. or whatever time it was. I remember that feeling very much. Like, there's so many things I'd rather be doing than having to run 50 miles right now. Why did I do this? Yeah. Which I think is a normal person's attitude. I think it's not Doug's attitude. Doug loves it going there. But I don't know. I just think there's a lot of, and like, you have to pay attention to everything. And many things you said that like either I've noticed or hadn't noticed. And I was like, wow, that's really true. So anyway, I love what you've done with the book.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Doug, ask a more pointed question, please.
Okay. All right. So Ultra Running for Normal People is not it's not like a training guide in the sense that, like, there's no training plan in there. There's no like meal plan, what to eat at this time and how much to eat and that kind of thing. It's much more like kind of this broader understanding of how to work your way through ultramarathon training and an ultramarathon itself. Like, why did you go that route instead of adding the training plan and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely, practical boots on the ground stuff. And each chapter, as Matt said, not so much tips, but, lessons I've learned as a trail runner and directing the race that I direct and talking to all the people that do my race. And side note, I don't know if I probably have thanked you, Matt and Doug, 1,000 times, but I blindly emailed you years ago with Approaching the Natural because I was on Rich Roll's podcast and he goes, so how's the promotion going? I said, I don't know. The publisher's probably, and he's like, no, the publisher's doing nothing. Like, you have to get out there. And I emailed Matt and you wrote back, and it was a huge reason why that book did as well as it did, but also that put me out into the world. So if I haven't thanked you formally, I do thank you because that was a huge thing. And just being supportive of my work over the years, I really appreciate it. Anyways, so Ultra Running for Normal People is, the race I direct, for instance, it's not a marquee race. It's not a pros, qualify for this. It's you should see the swath of people that show up. I mean, every kind of different person you can imagine from ages 17 to 70s. Every year I get somebody over 70, at least 1 to 5, including this coming year. And seeing that happen and the nature of that thing, and then my entry as a totally not elite runner, and what it's done for me, I just thought I want to introduce this as almost a broader commentary on the sort of tech direction of the world, and seeing trail ultra running as a way to maybe a little bit of a course correction on that, and to argue that it's more accessible to more people than people assume it is. And that was the hard thing. But at the end, there's nutrition, boots on the ground training. I just didn't want to chart because one of the lessons is versatility and adaptability. And what I learned with a history of militancy with regard to training charts, it doesn't have to be that. If you're not trying to win the race, it doesn't have to be militant. It doesn't have to be, I have to run this thing because on Thursday it says it. And I really wanted to get people off that kind of mindset. The book in many ways is a mindset shift. So that was my goal.
Love it.
Very good. Mr. Jeffrey wants to know, is Matt going to stop promoting this book if he finds out there's rebounding in it? Say there's not rebounding in this, is there?
There's no rebounding in ultra running. Wow, that's a deep cut. They know our relationship. I'm still a fan of rebounding, so I don't know what we need to reconcile this problem. Anyways, I'm still a fan. You should see my rebounder. It's missing legs, so I have to put books under that one side so it doesn't tip over while I'm doing it. I'm staying tough. I'm staying tough.
But do you still get the benefit of it's not actually touching the ground there? The legs are broken?
No, yeah, the leg, it's all flat. And so it's just jumping on the ground. No, just one of the legs. And so it's to not
He's a
tip over.
hardcore rebounder. He's so into rebounding, he doesn't even use the bounce anymore. He just jumps.
All right. But okay, Sid, going back to the book very quickly. Why should a normal person run an ultramarathon?
I think that the experience. So I did a thing last night at a bookstore. I'm in Colorado right now. The Luxury Inn and Suites. By the way, the luxury should be in quotes because this is not the whole. It's like this much below Motel 6. Anyways, so I was in Edwards, Colorado last night. This great bookstore and had a really good event. And that was one of the questions was. So part of it is the trail aspect of it. It's getting out on trails. It's that kind of, I feel like an animal. By the way, Doug Hay, for those listening, is the most joyous trail runner I've ever seen to this day. Like you're like a kid in a candy shop. And that's, I think what captures that kind of playful animal experience on the trails, and definitely for me too. And that's why I disconnect on trails. I don't even run with a watch anymore. And I put my last race, which was a rough day, which was last October. I was out for 10 hours and 40 minutes. And you're thinking 50 miler? No, that was a 50K. Anyways, and so, but 10 hours and 40 minutes, a real rough day. But I didn't even know how long I was out there. My phone was in my pocket the entire time. And that kind of disconnect is really, I think, needed given the direction of the modern world. But the ultra part of it is also as important. And that's going the distance where you feel you're broken down. And I mean that in a good way. I talk about that in a more raw state. And I see a good amount of people cross the finish line of the race I direct in tears. And it's not because of pain. It's because of release and relief and all this anxiety leading up to the race. And many of them, it's their first race and the hard work has paid off. And a lot happens when you push yourself into that place. It's not raw, and it's not looking at a watch time, but it's moving yourself to a place of where you feel like you want to quit and you're pushing through that, or at least you're trying to find a way out of that. And I think there's profound benefit there.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is going to inspire a lot of people to want to run, Sid. I think this is I think you've done a really good thing with this. You think it's more for, I mean, because when I read it or when I saw the title, I guess I thought it was going to be a guide to running an ultramarathon. Not in the sense like Doug was saying with training. I knew it wouldn't be a training plan and all that stuff. I just figured it was for someone who hadn't run one yet. I think it will inspire those. But I also think people who have done an ultra or a few might read this and then start to really like it. Kind of in the same way, like I feel like I was a runner and I ran, but it wasn't until I read Born to Run that I started to like feel like I was a runner and get it and like actually want to go running. I just think there's a lot of really good stuff here that just will I don't know, just make people really like it. It reminds me of, I had to Google his name, but the Japanese guy, I think it's Murakami, just writing thoughts about running. I don't know. I just think I think it's really nice in that way, in the same way that Approaching the Natural was. But I think it's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that I talked to a guy recently at the Stanford Inn in the lobby there, and he had run my race, but he had years before, but he had just done an ultra, and he said, "I'm never going to do one again." It was a 50K, and he had a horrible day. And he just didn't enjoy it. The whole process was crap and his joints were hurting. Within 5 minutes, I was like, "You severely overtrained for that race." He goes, "You think?" I go, "No, I know. Were you trying to win?" He goes, "No, I wasn't trying to win." So there's this assumption that because, you're doing an ultramarathon and it's this gargantuan thing that you have to really push yourself during training. And it's really not true. People take their time with these things. Obviously there's cutoffs, but he didn't enjoy it because he was he's like, I got back and I had to upload to Strava and I was making sure that I was, hitting these benchmarks, all this kind of data gathering thing. And I understand all that. I do. But I think there's an argument to be had for people to kind of get back to the more human part of us and in that disconnect and not upload to Strava and just experience the things we're experiencing without having to think, okay, now I have to put it out into the world, and just being okay with that process. And I think trail running, unlike almost every other sport I could ever think of, does that extremely well. And it doesn't mean you have to do every race like that, but I think to get out on sometimes to do a race where you're disconnected and you're experiencing human to human interaction, on the trail. That last race I did, the Lake Sonoma 55, I was hurting. And there were elite athletes running the 100K the winner, like the people in the lead, stopping to check on me. And I think that that's the coolest thing about ultra running. Like I'm going, you're going to win the race. Go do your race. I'm okay. But they're like, hey, I've got food in my backpack. Do you need anything? I was like, no, it's okay. That's how bad I must have looked. I goes, it's okay, you know. But it's a cool sport that way. You know, it's still like an under the radar kind of sport in many ways, and I really appreciate it still.
I think people don't understand that until they experience it. You know, I remember my first 50 miler. There was this out and back section towards the end. It made me last like 5 or 10 miles. And everyone was just congratulating each other and high-fiving each other because we were almost done. And it was like this big like celebration thing with all these people that you were passing, and not this competitive thing, which, you know, I was coming from road half marathons and marathons where I wasn't particularly competitive, but everybody was so focused on their time and their splits and everything like that, that you wouldn't take time to like high five people and congratulate them, you know? And it took experiencing that for me to understand it. And then I had this whole other appreciation, understanding of what trail running and ultra running could be. You know, and I train hard sometimes, and I race hard, and I try to be competitive, you know, as competitive as I can be. But I also really love the training, or love the running and the experience of the community, and doing races where I'm not particularly focused on time or anything like that. And I think that your book does a really nice job of kind of setting people up, whether it's their first race or later, but kind of helping people understand that so that they can make that shift, and not be super hyper focused on getting every single thing out of every single training run. You know, and there's times to do that, right? And Strava serves a purpose for a lot of people, but
Sure.
but it doesn't have to. You know, you don't have to go that route in the same way that a lot of people do with road races.
And I just don't want them to think they have to do that stuff. You know, I quote Courtney Dolwalker in the book, who's, you know, one of the greatest of all time, period. And she, you know, she said something like, I'm misquoting her, it's in my book, but it's like, I go out the door and I see where my legs are going to take me, because when I heard her interviewed, she was like, some days I will barely run. She's very in touch. She doesn't have a coach. She doesn't have a training plan. She goes out, and if it's a good day, if she's feeling good, she'll run longer or run harder. And on another day, she might go a super light run. And I think there's a disconnect when we do so much data. And again, I've been there, and in many ways still fight that. But there's a place where you kind of are disconnected from how you are feeling about the day. And it's okay to take a day off. And it's not only okay, it's actually beneficial physiologically to take it off when you're pushing, you know, if you've been pushing yourself too hard, or if you haven't slept well, or if you're super stressed at work. And that's the sort of normal person message of the book is, we're living our lives. We're raising kids and working multiple jobs. Sometimes I am. And so to think that you have to go all in on a training plan means you could sacrifice some of the other parts of your life.
So you've mentioned your race a couple times, but or that you have a race, but I don't think you've actually mentioned what it is. It was one of the first vegan races
it's
out there.
It's the I think there's only one of two in the country, but I might have been the first. I don't know. There's another one called Vegan Power Ultra, but anyways, that was it. But this is from last year. I'm doing different hats, but check out that. I had to bring this to Colorado. Anyways, it's the Mendocino Coast 50K, and somebody just wrote on the side Mexican Coke. And I do serve, as Doug knows, I serve the Mexican Coke at the race. I'm a stickler for the Mexican Coke at the race. Yeah. But yeah, Mendocino Coast 50K, one of only two vegan ultras in the country. All
an incredible, one of my favorite races of all time, but for the scenery and the atmosphere and the finish line. Mr. Jeffrey over here says that my wife, go back to the crying, my wife cried when we finished the Mendocino Coast 50K this year, and then about 20 minutes later picked up our Mexican Coke. And then he says he cried at the beginning because he was so excited. So there you go.
Yeah.
Tears
Mexican Coke. What's that?
This past year, Mr. Jeffrey did that. I forgot he did. I
yeah, he ran it last year.
You didn't also do it this year, did you?
No, I didn't.
I haven't Mr. Jeffrey meetup.
No, you have not done it since pre-COVID, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. I was supposed to come in 2020, and then it got canceled.
And Matt, you have an entry waiting for you whenever you want it.
Yeah, I'd love to come out there and like support people. I don't run anymore. I'm a non-runner.
Oh, you're not okay. Well, then you could volunteer. You could volunteer at an aid station while Doug runs it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, Katie came out the second time and volunteered at the aid station, and that was when she was pregnant, but no one knew it except for us. And you were one of the first people to know. Said maybe the first person to know, because her aid station was being swarmed by mosquitoes, and it was right during the oh man, what was the mosquito disease
Who
thing that
knows?
happened.
Zika.
I don't.
Zika. Yeah, it was during the
Oh,
Zika
yeah.
I know
scare.
all, I know all the
And she was
diseases.
like, mosquitoes are everywhere, and everyone was talking about Zika, and so she was like, I gotta get out of here. I
Yeah.
can't volunteer at this place.
If there's an
Yeah,
infectious
Lisa and I-
disease scare, I'm your guy. I know all about it. I have a detailed logbook of them.
Oh my God. Yeah, we haven't had a mosquito problem since then. I swear to God, I have like the nets. Everybody, they've never had to use them, so knock on wood. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we'll see what happens in April.
Steven says I could be a pacer, and that's what I could be. I'd be a good pacer.
There
I
you
wouldn't
go.
mind running, 3 or 4 miles. That'd
You'd
be
be a
good.
terrible pacer, Matt. You just make me feel terrible. Like if you were my pacer, maybe you'd be good for someone else. But
Yeah,
like,
I just
man.
like try to insult the whole time. Try to put down.
Yeah.
I love the lesson that is about aid station to aid station. That's what my ultra running was, and really, I mean, it's the only way I finished any races was doing that technique and lying to myself, somehow believing that all I had to do was get to the next station. I knew I wasn't going to quit there, but like you just play this game, and somehow if you're successful at it, you get yourself to believe that you're going to stop when you get to the next thing. So you just have to get there, and then all is well. And then you decide after a minute that you're going to keep going to the next one, and that's how it works. So I love that one. What's your favorite lesson in the whole book? What's the number one lesson? Number one tip?
Probably the first two. Yeah, exactly. The first two. The first lesson is to move through fear. And I think that's the most important in terms of the coaching that I'm not running, my small steps coaching, that how much fear plays a role in there's so much unknown in the modern world. And then of course, the way that news and social media is fashioned is to kind of, the negative stuff and a lot of scary things. And I think even trying an ultramarathon is terrifying. So this idea of learning to coexist with it, not to expend so much energy to try to make it go away, but to understand it's there, it's part of us, it's a survival instinct that we have in us. And sometimes we're afraid of something that isn't actually, most times we're afraid of something that isn't actually life-threatening, and to learn to coexist with that. And I have to say the equal lesson is the second one, which is to slow down. Because for me, when I trained for my first ultra, the coach I hired, Matt Flaherty, a pro guy, I just had him for a couple months just to kind of get me set because I was so terrified again. And he said, slow down. And so that was when I started really running at like 3 or 4 minutes slower than I'd ever run. And just the mental slowing down of that, but also enjoying running in a way that I had never enjoyed, not pushing. So going so slow that I was thinking about things and being present and paying attention, and ideas for songs and podcasts and videos would come in my brain. And this kind of solitude, quiet place emerged. And so I love those two lessons. I put them first in the book for a reason. They're all good lessons. They're all things I've actually learned and applied. Like the aid station thing I applied to my life. It's how I wrote the book. It's like, I just have to get through the next 2 pages, like it's always, I don't know what it is. I think we're overwhelmed with a lot of stuff that we're dealing with. And I think to break things down like that is super effective. But the aid station thing in my last ultra was actually for real. I actually, after the second aid station, thought I was going to quit. And I was planning, I was in such a bad place. I was like, okay, I think I'll just get to the next one and I will drop. And so it wasn't a game at that point. I showed up with a bottle of water. That's kind of a thing I do, and nothing else. I used to pack a bunch of stuff, but I didn't know a plan ahead. So the first aid station was only water. And so I didn't have anything else until the second aid station, over 13 miles in, and I was dying by that time. And so I sort of gotten past, it was bad planning on my part anyway. So I thought, well, I drank some Coke and had some oranges and thought I'll probably drop at the next aid station. So it really was that for me, that day was actually going. I was actually planning on dropping at some point. I was in that much pain, but for some, like Matt said, you just I got through it. And so these are real lessons. There's no joke, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's funny how ultra running, like so much more than road running. I don't know why, because I have liked road running a lot. I shouldn't say ultra running versus road running, trail running and ultra running versus road marathoning. It just offers so much more, the ultra running trails of these kind of life lessons and meditative things and metaphors. I don't really know why. I guess just because it's further, but it's just a different, like you said, you slow down so much. There's this whole thing about not falling, so you got to pay attention to everything. You're in the woods. It just becomes this very different exercise than running forward. Same step every time. Just keep moving fast as you can. So I don't know. I think you really have captured that really well here.
Yeah, that is something. There is something about it that is unlike anything else. And it's not a good or bad. It's just, for me, it's a good because it just attached me to this. I loved it more than I've ever loved any road race I've ever done. I haven't done many, but it didn't take in a way that trail running did for me.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, the book again is Ultrarunning for Normal People. I saw Doug put a link to Penguin. So the publisher's not Penguin Random House, but it's a subsidiary of them, I guess.
The publisher is Blue Star Press, and they're distributed by Penguin Random House. So that's why you see that. But you can go to my website. And I have a book trailer video, and anyways, that you can whatever. SidGarza-Hillman.com is where you can get, but it's everywhere. It's in bookstores.
It's also on Amazon, right? You can go to Amazon, get it.
Oh yeah, it's Penguin Random House did a great job. They're getting it out. The publisher, Blue Star, was better than I could ever expect. And the publisher of my third book opted at the end of the day not to do the book. So I was kind of panicking, and I just sent proposals out. And the owner of Blue Star, this girl Brenna, is an ultra runner. So she said, "Oh, I definitely want to read it." And we did a deal. And so they've been a phenomenal. I mean, I could not be happier with the publisher. They did a great job.
Oh, good. That's great. A lot of people complain about their publisher, so that is always.
No, I know, and I have, but not them. They've just killed it.
Yeah. Very cool. Good. All right. And you got a Matt Fitzgerald blurb too.
Man, and Doug Hay blurbed it.
Ooh, that's even
Matt
harder.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah. Even more coveted.
Yeah. Do you know
who was the first one you mentioned, Matt?
What?
Who was the first one you mentioned?
Matt Fitzgerald.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Do you know who Hillary Allen is?
No, the name sounds familiar.
She's a pro ultra. She blurbed, but anyways, I'm meeting her tonight. She's one of the. She had a book on the same publisher in which she's gonna introduce me at the event tonight in Denver. If any of your people are in Denver, I'll be at Denver. I'll be at the Runner's Roost in Denver tonight at 6.
Tonight, that's Wednesday, February 7th.
Yeah.
I think I did a Runner's Roost thing in Denver, Sid.
I bet you did.
I'm Googling
a
it.
No Meat Athlete running group.
I don't think I did actually. I did Denver Run House, which is now defunct.
Oh. Okay.
Because they
cause and
brought
effect.
in speakers like me.
Yeah, maybe because of their choices.
All right. So,
all right, Britters. We'll wrap the part of the show up with Britters. Some great wisdom. I needed to kickstart the 2024 season. Thanks to Just Bought the Book.
And thank you. Thanks. And thank you both to you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You want to stick around for the weather report?
Totally.
All right, let's do some weather. Let's get to it. I even got the music today queued up and ready to go. Here we go. Weather report. Good news for pizza lovers, says Veg News last week, but I found it this week. Both Trader Joe's and Tofurkey are getting plant-based pepperoni. The Tofurkey one is not that exciting because it's only going to be in Tops markets in the Northeast and Hy-Vee in the Midwest. But Trader Joe's apparently is headed to stores this week. No word on what it's made of or anything, but I'll be pretty excited about that because, as you know, Doug, you like to say that I eat that pizza once a week that is bad for me. This is going to be a welcome addition to that pizza.
Oh, addition on top of the other toppings, not just a plain old pepperoni pizza.
No, that will be the only topping I put on there.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Sid, do you like multiple toppings on pizza or just one?
I do. No, I'm a multiple guy.
What's your if you're making a pizza, Sid? What are you throwing on there?
Black olives, jalapenos, mushrooms, red bell pepper, and onion.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the jalapeno on pizza. That's new to me.
Sometimes pineapple.
Pineapple jalapeno.
I love the pineapple on pizza.
Sweet and hot.
Sure.
I used to like pineapple on pizza, but not anymore. I'm over that.
Then you graduated high school.
Exactly. Exactly right. All right. This one was shared in our Discord, but luckily I already had it yesterday. The Fatwa Committee of the Islamic Religious Council of Singapore, abbreviated MUIS. I don't know why, but it is. They have decided that cultivated meat can be considered halal under specific conditions. This may sound familiar because we already talked about the Sharia scholars last September in Saudi Arabia. They already set some requirements. In this case, which is the same thing, the cell lines have to be from animal species that Muslims are allowed to eat. The cell culture medium cannot contain any non-halal ingredients, and appropriate food safety regulatory agency has to approve the finished product. I Googled halal philosophy just to see what it was. Like, I just didn't understand how could this possibly fit with like a, I don't know, religious philosophy. It just seems so off from that. Apparently, it has to do with suffering, and halal food must be prepared with minimal suffering to the animal. So the cultivated meat definitely checks that box. And the pronouncement of God's name during the slaughter, as the animal is being sacrificed to Him. But no mention of having to pronounce God's name as they're like doing whatever, cultivating the meat. So I don't know about that. But anyway, there you go. That's good. Doug, you excited about that?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's good.
More than merrier, right?
I mean, like you, I don't know much about the halal requirements, but I am excited about supporting cultivated meat. Sid, what's your take on cultivated meat?
Doesn't like
I say whatever.
The lab grown meat.
It's not going to be obviously healthy, but if it's better for the environment and better for the animals, I'm all for it. I don't care what people do.
Would you try it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You won't be vegan then.
Is that true?
Because
it started with cell?
That's the big debate.
I think because it started with the cell, I think it's not vegan. But I'm still on. I'm not that.
I don't go for a lot of that stuff, but I have a feeling that I mean, like car tires have there's stuff that we do that has animal products in it. So I'm sort of like on that line of like, okay, they start with that cell, but then eventually if then it's done and then people are getting off actual meat, it's
that's how I feel. I'm with you. But I do worry about the health concerns. I'm just not sure about that just yet. Anyway, moving on, Doug, this will be sad news to you. Pret a Manger. Is that how you say it? Is that right?
I don't know. I just call it Pret.
I just call it Pret. Okay. They're set to axe their last 3 vegetarian-only stores and convert them into normal outlets during a slump or due to the slump in demand for meat-free sandwiches. This is from no surprise. What's that terrible newspaper? Oh, Daily Mail. They're the ones who said this. So that's not good. At the peak, there were 10 of these across the UK, 10 of these only vegan vegetarian ones. So they are ready to be done. That experiment is ending. However, Catherine Bagshaw says that every Pret shop is a veggie Pret shop with new vegetarian and vegan friendly products coming onto the menu all the time. And still 1 in 3 of their main meal sales are veggie or vegan friendly. So, not going away entirely.
See, this goes back to the conversations we've been having all week, really, or last couple of weeks about fully vegan spots versus places that have both. Right. And there's a lot of people who wouldn't go into a vegan Pret, right? If everything is vegan, but they might go into a regular Pret and see a vegetarian or vegan sandwich and think that sounds pretty good, along with their creamy soup or whatever like that. And so they're choosing the more plant-based option anyway.
Or they might go with somebody. They might go with someone who's vegan and try what they're having and go, "Hey, that's pretty good." So,
Might happen. But it appears that convergence is happening. The vegan restaurant is going away. That's my proclamation. There will be none left by the end of 2024. I should add that to my predictions at the beginning of the year.
That's definitely not true. Here we go. Steven says, shame. Pret is also suffered from less people are going out of the office now. Going out to the office now, right? Because they were usually in office.
Right.
Like
I've never ever seen a Pret still ever in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It just seems like a fake thing to me. Jessica Goodenough said, who I haven't seen in a while on here. Welcome, Jessica, back to the show. Says, I've been saying for a while that I'll get a cat when cultivated cat food goes mainstream. I mean, I don't know if it's going to go mainstream, but I think it'll be available really soon. I think
in 10 years, it's going to be the only way to get cat food. That's my prediction.
Oh, okay. Like that's a safe prediction because we won't be around in 10 years for anyone to know if that's true or not.
Ouch.
The show won't be around. We'll hopefully be around.
Yeah, hopefully we still will. All right. And the last one, I think it's the last one. Yeah, last one. A new study published in Nature Communications has found that it's not just whole plant foods, the ones that we like and wish would come back. It's not just those that are better for the environment than meat and dairy. Even the processed vegan foods are better, says this new study. They found that plant-based alternatives like vegan burgers and oat milk are significantly better for the environment than a diet of meat, fish, and dairy. And even these plant-based alternatives can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 52% and land use by up to 45%. So to the people saying that these plant-based processed foods are no good for the environment, we say we now have this study on our side. And they would say, well, that's a biased study. It doesn't count because it's done by people who wanted that to happen. So the discussion will continue.
Did you look at the study? Who is doing it?
No, I didn't look at it. You can't. I mean, you can't tell who's biased in what direction anymore. So no reason to even dig.
That's defeatist.
You can see who funded it sometimes, but then there's fake names and things like that. It's a little hard to get down below the surface on who's actually where the money's coming from.
Exactly. Okay, good. So let's see. That's not too much. A little bit more Pret here. Steven says every street corner in London. That's possible. Seems a little far-fetched to me, but maybe.
Are they the Starbucks of London?
I don't know. Or the Tim Hortons of London, if you're Canadian, if you're Mr. Jeffrey.
Nice cut, Matt. I love Tim Hortons.
Yeah. And Jessica Goodenough says they have an amazing avocado and tapenade sandwich. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Although I'm not a big fan of mixing soft things like that either. That's another thing that I don't like when people like mix guacamole with olive tapenade. It's just, I don't know, just too much.
I know things about this. How long we've all known each other. I also know that Matt just cannot stand the idea of putting everything in one bowl. That just pisses him off. Oh, yeah. Like a salad with it just
that's right.
Rebounding and everything in one bowl are the two things that Matt was just the most angry about in his life.
See, that's not bad. Even back in the day, I didn't like when Sid did a bowl of things.
He hated it. I put all one bowl. He'd be like,
because you'd have a salad and then you would put your meal on top of the salad, right?
Right on it. Right, I still do. So the pasta right on the salad, just the whole, big hole. Yeah,
I don't know who would like that. That sounds.
Sometimes bizarre. I do that while I'm rebounding. And
Are you plugged into the grounding sheets while you do that too?
Yeah, I'm all three things. It's like I glow when I'm doing that.
Good. All right. Carmen here says Tim Hortons would definitely not have an avocado tapenade sandwich. That's a bit too high class for Timmy's. I think she was talking about Pret that had the sandwich. I don't really know. I'm not sure if I ever went to Tim Hortons or not. I always saw them when I was in Canada a couple of times, but I don't know if I ever went to one. So I would assume they would have an avocado tapenade sandwich, but guess not.
Is the coffee any good at Tim Hortons? I think a bit more of a Dunkin' Donuts, but I've never been there.
It's not great. When I was a touring musician, we were playing shows in Canada. We went to Tim Hortons, and I used to love it. I've since had Tim Hortons coffee, and it doesn't really stack up. But maybe it was an off day.
People should know that in the book, Ultra Running for Normal People, Sid talks about hotel coffee, but he puts the coffee in quotes because he can't really call that.
I made one this morning with my AeroPress. I bring in everything, including my own roasted coffee, to when I travel.
Okay, all right. Does that mean that you no longer qualify as a normal person if you're carrying?
There's a lot about me that's not normal. Just I'm a normal ultra runner, but otherwise very not normal.
All right, a couple more comments here about food and bowls and things. So we could go on all day, but we're not going to. All right, that's it. We're going to wrap it up there. Sid, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, please go check out Sid's book, Ultra Running for Normal People, penguinrandomhouse.com. You would put a link here. Let's pin the link up real quick so people can even see that.
Or if you go to the website, my website, it's got all the international links too. So whatever you want to do. You can go to Sid Garza-Hillman and it might be easier anyway. It doesn't matter. You guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. And I hope that we cross paths in person soon because it's been way too long.
Definitely. Yeah. Best of luck with the book. Wish you the
thank you and best to you and your families.
Possible. All right, great. Yeah. All right. With that, we will see everyone tomorrow for our last show of the week.
There you go. Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right.